going off topic.
Off topic?
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic. How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?
Ladies and gentlemen, all jokes aside, all right, what's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of Going Off Topic with Brother Omowale. Have a very special guest in the building with me today. I have my sister. Is it Kari Jay or am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, Kari Jay.
All right, Kari Jay. So listen, whenever I have somebody who's super official in the building, I always like to start by reading their bio before we get into the combo. So I'm gonna get started by saying. Absolutely. I mean, you super official. I gotta put some respect on your name. You actually out here doing stuff. So I wanna make it known. So Kari Jay is a proud Pan-African woman who wow, I'm screwing up already. Kari Jay is a proud Pan-African woman who loves influencing change through music, education, travel, and spoken word poetry. In 2019, she dropped her debut project, Kari, as an independent music artist. However, as an established orator and poet, Kari Jay has won countless international and national oratorical and poetry competitions since the young age of 14 years old. Kari Jay is the youngest poet in her story to be crowned the Mahogany Urban Poetry Series Queen of the Mic. Kari was the opening rising star artist for Afrochella 2019 in Ghana, and since then has become a Ghana representative artist for California by way of Sacktown. You know what I'm saying? Let's put some respect on her name.
Thank you so much.
How you doing, Sister Kari?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy. Today is like a beautiful day in New Orleans where I'm living right now. It was a tornado earlier this week, so today the sun is out, the weather is bright, and it just feels like a really good day.
Yeah, New Orleans is one of my favorite places. I think I've been there twice that I can remember. My dad tells me I've been there 3 times because apparently he took me when I was a kid, but
Okay.
I'm too young to remember that first trip. But 2 times that I definitely can remember, and both of those times were very, very enjoyable.
Absolutely. It's a very rich city.
Yeah. Well, listen, I have there's certain people who I really enjoy having conversations with, and when I first met you, your energy is just very electrifying. Like you have a way of uplifting people's spirit. Like you're a very real person. So I definitely want to take some time to get to know a little bit about the young Miss Kari Jay, who I had the honor and privilege to serve as a co-panelist with during the 41st annual Black Consciousness Conference that was hosted back in February by the Cal State University Long Beach campus Black Student Union. So shout out to them. Yeah, I'm saying. So let's start there. Like, how do you even come to be? How'd they come to find out about you being such a dynamic person, and how would you get the invite? Because you definitely set it off.
I appreciate that. I definitely felt honored to be, in the likes of so many people doing such revolutionary and necessary work. So to have the invite was ultimately an honor. But our organization was actually invited for the work that we were doing in SoCal with our Saturday school programming. The invitation was initially extended to my co-founder, Tia Williams, and she currently is, moving by different coast right now. We're doing our nomadic thing. So she was like, sis, can you take this? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. But ultimately, the school in the area of Long Beach was familiar with our work through our Saturday school programming that we are hosting and bringing back very soon in the summer. But it is a bi-weekly Saturday school program that teaches the importance of Pan-Africanism to the venues of education, resources, and culture with an international and global perspective. So giving folks access to their reflections of themselves in different parts of the world, having educators teach from different parts of the world in different locations. And so our Saturday school in LA at the time was on Slauson. Got caught the eye of the community and began to get community volunteers from that area. And it was a beautiful movement that we were able to create, just bringing back the legacy of the Black Panthers and, Saturday school education, breakfast programming that all came from, that birthright. So We
Nice.
appreciate the love from Long Beach State and them also extending the invitation.
That's what's up. That's what's the name of your organization?
Number 2 West Movement.
Okay. So
Yes.
West to West movement.
Yes.
How that organization come about?
West West was born out of a mission, really, a mission to expand our understanding and our reach to each other within the diaspora. My sister and I, both being students at UC Davis at the time, had studied abroad and went to Ghana and really had that revelation be born within ourselves, have our organic chemistry really be altered by travel and a reflection of ourselves on different soils. It really changed us. It made us want to do that work on a different intimate level. And we knew we had to bring our folks back. We just didn't know what would the venue be and how we would do that. And the Saturday School really was our first program that came out. And it was really to get people ready to go and have that experience. What were the things that we hoped our study abroad program could have included? But it really wasn't their responsibility, being an institutional program. It wasn't the responsibility of the study abroad department to curate such a spiritual and intimate experience. And we've seen a difference that needed to be made in like how folks were able to traverse and have access be made to Africa and specifically Ghana right now. My folks and my heritage is Ghanaian. So I've had that interest in doing that program and going there and spirit had to be so that's where the love has been, shared at this moment. So we're very active in Ghana, but we have a vision to be in all 54 countries, you know what I'm saying, in the continent and really do that work intimately that way. But it came from study abroad and being able to have access to travel and being able to have resources that supported that mission and wanting to make those resources available on an international level.
Yeah. So I want you to go a little bit deeper into the statement that you just made, because the way that you described it, it's like your visit to Ghana changed you at like the cellular level. You said it
Absolutely.
changed your organic chemistry. Can you go
Absolutely.
into that for me a little bit?
I feel like, when you're raised in an American context, you have this idea that what you feel, everything you feel naturally is somehow one or another wrong. You're so used to being ridiculed that you question and critique your innate responses to things. And going to Ghana and just even being in that um, atmosphere just reminded me all of those feelings that I ever had, anything that I ever doubted about myself, anything that I ever robbed myself of came from a foreign place. And for once, even on foreign quote unquote land, I felt like, no, everything you thought was right. Like you was
Mm,
not lying. And then that was the feeling, just looking around and seeing everyone that either looked like me or someone I loved, feeling like, wow, well, you was lied to. And you
yeah.
weren't mad. Like your anger was not misplaced. You weren't too anxious. You weren't too nervous. You weren't too depressed. Your situation was not something fictitious. You experienced something, and I felt so validated just in
Mm,
my human experience. All of the emotions that I have felt ever in my life, and it sounds so dramatic, but it's real. Like all of the emotions that I was at war with, either in my spirit or in my flesh, just from being born in America. I had felt like they had been resolved some way or another just from my physical presence in Africa. Like
yeah.
as long as I can do my due diligence in getting back and seeing what I could have potentially, um, been born into, just having the imagination, allowing that imagination to be created, gave me a whole different confidence and assurance in who I was as a human being. So
Yeah.
I think that experience is something that changed my organic chemistry. It changed the way that I walk. It changed the way that I talk. It changed the way that I interact with folks from all over the world, from every different place,
Mm,
having a sense of um, collective responsibility as it pertains to my culture and my heritage directly.
yeah.
I think what we have is, a lot of internationalism where folks just think it's cute to be a lot of places.
Hmm.
But what we really hope to incite is the urgency of necessary relationships with each of the places that we go, that we encourage healthy exchange with
Mm,
each of the places that we go and that we are present, whether that's philosophical or financial. We have to be able to do that and add those contributions in our work. So that is what I mean when I say, the organic chemistry changed. I had a different requirement be made
yeah.
of me. You know what I'm saying? It was a different
Yeah.
requirement that I came back with, different obligation.
Yeah. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 25 years old.
Okay, and I think I knew that. I think you shared that during when we were out in Cali, and
Okay.
I think I said it to you then, but I'm going to say it again. Like I'm so impressed with your generation, with the Gen Zs, like those of you who are doing the work, the ones who have been inspired
Thank you.
to get involved in this movement and participate in our own liberation from a mental, physical, spiritual, cultural perspective, right?
Thank
Like from a very holistic perspective, really doing that deep work and bringing others along for the ride. And not just that, like your ability to communicate, of course, your organizing skills, I know that the contribution that you all are going to make to our collective and intergenerational efforts is going to be significant. So I just want to
Thank you
commend
so
you, for your work.
Thank you so much. And I humbly receive that compliment and I gracefully receive it because I think I thought we were a lot closer in age. Now,
Mhm.
when you talk about the next generation, I'm like, you ain't in my generation. But thank you so much. I definitely look forward to, the generation to come after me. I think we
Yeah,
stand on some strong and able shoulders. You
yeah,
know, so much work has been done. So much work has been done.
yeah,
So I just want to make sure I carry the torch with enough grace, with enough strength, with enough fire to
hmm
get it to the next generation and do my part. That's always hoping to do.
yeah. So, as an artist, how do you feel that change in your organic chemistry is now reflected in your art and your creativity?
Oh, I definitely found I gave myself permission to explore different sounds, different origins, different beats, different rhythm patterns, different partnerships and collaborations. I think before I actually traveled to Ghana, I knew that I wanted to sing. And the only type of singing that I was introduced to before then was like gospel.
Hmm.
And the only thing that felt like gospel when I got to Ghana was like Afro beats.
Hmm.
So I started learning, like feeling the same peace, the same serenity. A lot of Afrobeat music is very positive, very uplifting, and I never had been in a club just singing my heart out at midnight about love and peace and unity. I was like, what is this? Like I fell in love with Afrobeat all over again because we knew it, but experiencing Afrobeat in Africa
Yeah.
with, is a whole different experience. So I was able to see like what happens when, you have music that can promote such positive spiritual messages
Hmm.
and still get the club jumping. So that was like it was a task for me creatively to be
Yeah.
able to like write to Afrobeat rhythmic pattern, but also listen to this part of myself that was now, a newfound African woman.
Yeah.
Wanted to like, nurture her as an artist as well and be able to give her a voice as well. So I feel like my music began to reflect that. I began to drop more Afro kind of sounds and patterns and really hoping to um, inspire a generation of music. They talk about, well, we study the hip hop and globalization of hip hop and how everyone has a piece of hip hop in the countries that hip hop was able to land. But I
Yeah.
also feel like Afrobeat is even have a bigger impact because it
Yeah.
comes from the heart and the root of all humanity, which is Africa. And so we have this idea of the globalization of Afrobeats and what Afrobeat is really doing to the world right now. You can see how imperative it is that we're able to speak the same languages in our music.
Hmm.
And even if it's not verbatim, to the tongue, the same language, we're able to feel the same spirit and
Yeah.
send the same love messages and the same, unifying messages in my music. I was challenged then as an artist for my music to align with my mission, first to really uncover who we are as people. And I think that's why Afrobeat and Afro sound and Afro rhythms and beat patterns are so important to everything that I do, as well as this hip hop. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I really from SAC and I really be rapping and that's what raised me. That's the culture, like that's the culture that I was raised in. I was raised rapping on the streets for money and
Yeah.
going and spitting my heart out on a bus and doing all those type of things. So that's really who we are as people as well. And so the marriage of those two or, multiple personalities that come up just within a diaspora, how we have to resist and use what we're used to and where we're trying to go as a mechanism of resistance in every portion of our being,
Yeah.
the creative processes that come about. And this is how we find our voice in those matrices. Like this is
Yeah.
what's happening.
Um, are you at all concerned about the attempt by Western multinationals to corrupt a lot of what's pure, about like, the entertainment space on the continent, right? Because from my observations, I can see the same attempt, that the thing that was pure about hip hop in the US, how it was turned into something that was
Right.
vulgar, conspicuous consumption, violent, hypersexualization, like commodification. That same energy and those same vultures seem to be, circling around the energy on
When
the
I
content.
heard Justin Bieber on Afrobeat, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So like they're present in the space. They definitely see the market. It's a conversation of just having access to Black talent and genius on an international scale, right? Because everything we do becomes globalized so quickly and so intimately. Everything we do now with heightened access to each other via the internet, we see each other even more. So if it's not Africans in Africa, it's Africans in exile, other places that the industry is trying to get the message and exploit the image. So I understand the importance even more so of me being who I am and how I am at the forefront of the culture and the industry. I think we have to have more artists who are very, very much more so connected to the pulse of the people and the well-being of like, how are we putting out messaging to our music? What position has music played to the culture? And what's the responsibility of artists as culture bearers and culture keepers to like produce music that we'll be proud of for the next generations to come? I think that energy and that vibration needs to be uplifted more and more and more and more and more, just period in life. Me as an artist, that's my role. Also as an educator, that's my role. You know what I'm saying? I know what to do and how to do it when it's time, but we also need to be just uplifting that vibration of we're doing what we're doing for all of us, for the generations to come. And so to answer your question directly, I think there's, of course, while there's concern for, all these multinationals and Western multinationals, I think what we should be more concerned with is, are we in a position to support the narratives that are uplifting and the artists that are taking on the responsibility of really making sure we are producing content for us? Are we doing all that we can to support those people? Are we actively seeking opportunities to go against whatever messaging comes from, ultimately our oppressors and these white vultures that are taking over the industry? I think we owe it to ourselves as a consumer of music to just be more refined in what we consume. And when we see that trend coming to attack our listening patterns, we have to, eliminate it. And that's where I begin to hold responsibility. Now, and as an artist, but also just as a listener of music and who I support and where I go and, who gets my money, that's a different conversation. But I think as an artist, I'm now in the process in a space where I make a very conscious decision to include messages and themes in my music that uplift and empower my people, period.
Yeah.
If there's something that comes out that, folks would like to negate or, talk about, like, how does this connect to our mission? We can go there and we can have that conversation. But ultimately, everything I do is toward the liberation of all African people. So how that comes back to our cultural responsibility and our collective responsibility, that's for everyone else to understand and play a part in. Like, damn, if she's doing this for the people and I'm about the people, then I should be supporting her as an artist. Same way as a restaurant, same way as a school, same way as a bank. When we see our initiatives and things that come out for our well-being and our betterment, we should jump to the opportunity to support them if that's like where our mind is as what we're trying to see in the world.
All right. So you mentioned like the level of hyperconnectivity that our generations currently have that other generations have not had access to via social media that can connect us in a very international way across borders, across languages, across different cultures within Africanity, right? So one of the things that I've noticed and I dislike is the way in which that connectivity has been used to sow so much division and misinformation and infighting. And I know that this was one of the questions that they wanted us to speak to during the panel, but we didn't get a chance to address it. So I guess I'm going to ask you that question now, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have it in front of me, so I should have pulled it up. But basically, how does revolutionary theory and praxis serve to mend the gaps and the division that is presently being subsidized by our collective ignorance?
Man, when you really have been blessed with the opportunity to see your people in different places, in different forms, in different fashions, in different conditions, different circumstances, different levels and access to power and privilege, you really are able to develop a well-versed understanding, but also love for the people. And I think when we talk about what is the position of revolutionary practice, we have to understand that the system that we are dismantling must be replaced by something. And if we are not actively building to like nurture both sides of those fences at the same time, once we are done dismantling everything, we won't have anything built. So the very well-versed love that I feel like I had to develop as a revolutionary, the very understandings I've had to feel just about, the things I may not understand, those are the I feel like the key nuggets and the root and the essence of revolutionary theory and practice. I feel like we have given up too much hope when it comes to what is to come after all of the revolution. The revolution is just the first part.
Yeah.
What we really hope to see. The revolution is really just the first initiative. We hope that, we can do the work revolutionaries before us has set out to do in their first mission. You feel me? That we won't have to be trying to run these same plays and do these same kind of, organizing and programming the same way, and see no results. We hope that after the revolution, we actually can get to the rebuilding. Once we resist, then we can reclaim. We can get to doing the second part of actually having something after we dismantle what we hope to dismantle. So the position of revolutionary theory is that in theory, we understand we are nothing without each other. That is the most revolutionary theory, that we cannot cancel and kill each other. I would such an active adversary from all fronts. We cannot be the next adversary to our own people. That's number one. Number two is in theory, if we are, if we're trying to create something beyond the revolution, then we have to commit to principles and a lifestyle that include and encourage our longevity and our well-being. So anything that goes against our well-being, we ultimately, in theory, have to be against. And I think we don't have enough of that energy coming, even in our diets, in the way that we talk to each other, the way that we spend money, and, all the different patterns of things that we include in our life, from the lowest level access to power to the highest. We understand, we talk about mass media messaging and how we're able to see each other because of this hyperconnectivity. The first time I went to Ghana and I went to someone's home, they were watching Love and Hip-Hop, and they was watching girls fight. And they was like, look, like, you like this, right? And I was like, bro, I would never watch this. I had to have a whole moment and dedication to this idea of what we're going to build. After we remove this image of ourselves in the media, we have to come with something to replace it. So I think that's really the practice part. In theory, I know what I want to see and I know what our people need. And I think I have a vision toward what we can really be when we are really, truly liberated beings. And so in theory, I hold those true to my heart. In practice, I only produce and align with projects, movements, organizations that kind of also align with that vision of where I see us being as liberated people. I think, when we have a deeply rooted theory, and I think the most revolutionary theory is love.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you really love people. When you really love, it's hard to hold their fault as their greatest contribution to humanity. It's hard to remove them and not have them be as a center to their solution. You know what I'm saying? Like giving the power, so much more power to the system than we know when we cancel each other. And so I think we have to hold ourselves in the highest light with a real sense of gravity and the idea of consequence and reconciliation when it comes to things of making amends within the community first.
Yeah.
That is the most revolutionary term of love that I hope to see. And I envision after we've revolted, after we rebelled, and we could take a break and actually get to rebuilding, that we've already have set the foundation for that to have happened.
Gotcha.
That's what my mind is right now.
Got you. So let me ask you this, because we're speaking about revolution and revolutionaries, and the keynote speaker during the event back in February was the son of Chairman Fred Hampton
Yeah.
Jr., the Honorable Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., the Honorable Chairman Fred Hampton. So let me just put some respect on their names. But who are some of those revolutionary thinkers that most influence and shape the way that you see that vision of a liberated Africa? And by Africa, I'm not talking about the continental borders. I'm talking about African people across the globe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow, that's such a humbling question. Um, I'm called to the likes of the minds of Harriet Tubman, Kwame Nkrumah, Ella Baker,
Mm,
Ida B. Wells,
mhm,
um, mm, Amir Cabral,
mhm,
John Henry Clark. Um, I think of revolutionaries who are always keeping it close to the people, always at the post of the people. I think what I take, and I say those names because those are the first names that came in my spirit,
yep,
and those are the names I offer most times in libations.
mhm,
Um, but when I think, and to speak to each of them very specifically, what I learned most from Harriet Tubman is that some people don't know always how urgent the necessity is for our freedom and our work, and you will have to use force at some point to incite that urgency. That is what I learned from Harriet Tubman, that there is no limit that we will not go. Um, from Ella Baker, I learned the importance of organizing, the
mhm,
importance of service and leadership, the importance of servant leadership,
yeah,
the importance of knowing how to get to the logistics and plan things well and organize well and
mm,
go back and organize those under you and give back to the generation under you and do it well and make sure
mm,
that organization is just something that becomes like a fabric of our being. Like
yeah,
we just know how to get in line when it's time. And I
mhm,
think Ella Baker is someone who I learned and being able to experience the legacy of her work directly in my work and in my trajectory in like the early beginnings of my education career, just learning who she was and how she was able to inspire service leadership so deeply in the culture and into the movement. Ella Baker is someone who I definitely learned the importance of organizing from,
yeah,
amongst all of these many people, but of course, her, Amir Cabral, definitely a strategy,
yeah,
with the full knowledge of your oppressor and what he's capable of.
mhm,
Kwame Nkrumah going to the posts of your people. Kwame Nkrumah went to every village, nearly every village in the country, you know, to see about his people, to see what was going on. He traveled, he was well traveled, and he made sure that he was everywhere he needed to be and brought it always back home. So that's what I understand and learn from Kwame Nkrumah. Also learned the importance of having your strategy be in alignment with other African countries and other African powers. Though we may have a different opinion and different application of theory. And ultimately, if we have the same vision, we must know how to align at a point.
mm,
And I learned that from studying Kwame Nkrumah. Um, I also like to offer artists that like in the Black artist movement, like Sonia Sanchez and Nikki Giovanni, and how like the art that they were producing at that time was so revolutionary for women, for Black women, to be speaking on and be sending out those messages like as artists, and how the Black art movement really was the backbone to the civil rights movement, and how
yeah,
people could come out and talk and speak creatively and freely about what they envisioned as a Black liberated African and what we wanted to be and how we envisioned ourselves. you know, um, I also learned from, women in my book as a revolutionary like Zora Neale Hurston, who was unapologetically serious about documenting the depths of the pain
yeah,
that we experienced and making sure that every piece of our experience was brought to the light, that our voice, no part of us was too um, ratchet or too
mhm,
low to be brought to the surface. I feel like those are the voices that I try to include in my revolutionary work. Angela Davis is someone, and I would like to bring light to those who are still living. Angela Davis and Asada Shakur, teaching us how to stay studied, teaching us how to stay ready, and teaching us how to be vigilant in the face of our oppressor,
Yeah.
actively living and continuing to live and choose life. As revolutionaries, a lot of this jargon we hear in the music that we like is like, you have to be ready to die for something. And that's true. But what we're building after the revolution is life. We hope to build a better life for us. So really, dedicating my life to living, period.
Yeah.
I'm dedicating my life to living.
Yeah.
That's why I'm revolutionary, because I think we deserve the best, highest expression of what we can empower our minds to think about.
Yeah.
So I believe that those revolutionaries speak directly, mostly to my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me I want to ask one last question because
Oh, can I say something? I'm sorry, I didn't say Marcus Garvey.
oh, of course. Hold on one sec. You know where we at. We in a you see Garvey right over there. So
No. Whose show am I on? Whose show am I on?
Go ahead. Do your thing.
Marcus Garvey, the importance, again, I think at the same level and intimacy, I studied Ella Baker, I was able to study Marcus Garvey and his experiences with his internal conflict that he had with Black people he was organizing with from city to city, from state to state, and how we address our internal conflict, to me, takes precedent over and priority over, how we engage with our oppressor. Because now we've given our energy to external forces. But Marcus Garvey taught me about the importance of organizing within and being able to address internal conflicts immediately and urgently, for the importance of making organization a fabric of our culture.
Yeah. Well, let me big up Dr. Garvey. So I want to ask you just one last question in closing. Our daughters, our sons today, the models that are put in front of them are not models that are life affirming or self affirming or that provide revolutionary messaging. And most of the influences and the marketed leadership that they get in front of them is via, entertainers, certain types of artists that the industry is propagating. As a revolutionary African woman, as a revolutionary Pan-Africanist woman, who would you say are the models that our sisters should be looking to pattern their behavior after? And when I say behavior, I mean the way that you engage in public, the way that you relate to your counterpart, the way we envision doing and creating families and raising children, like the entire universe of womanhood. Like who are those women for you that our sisters should be looking to, kind of like as the exemplars of African womanhood?
Absolutely. I think the best answer to that question, and I think the most necessary response to that question, is what we already have seen and what we've already have had transpire in our bloodlines to get it to be here today. I think we had to remove the necessity for a model in the form of media, in the form of just fame, and we're looking for something in a place where it should not exist.
Yeah.
As a revolutionary African woman, I had to first learn, what are cultural traditions and the cultural norms of African women. We learn from the women in our families. So if my bloodline is strong enough to produce me and my mother and my grandmother and my great grandmother, then it is strong enough to produce my daughter and my grandmother and my great granddaughter.
Hold on. Oh my goodness.
We have to get out of this idea that the media, which we are trying to, take control of. We have a lot of Black media going out, doing great ideas, putting out great positive images of Black people. Shout out to all those wonderful filmmakers and the wonderful people doing that work, and the illustrators that are making Black books for Black babies, and all these beautiful, wonderful things that are happening in the media, because there are active forces that are tackling that deficiency right now. But we also have to go deeper within ourselves intuitively and understand that the woman that we hope to be has already existed within us. We've always been those women. And I think when we subject so much of our expectation to the media. We give that power from ourselves to what we're hoping to find within ourselves. So I would just hope that Black women all over the world will be able to appreciate and really heal that Black woman in us that was born generations before us, whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like, we have to heal her and
epigenetic, that the epigenetic trauma that's carried down that impacts our nervous system. You talking
absolutely,
right now.
And flashing this image of whatever a woman should be, it detracts that responsibility to heal that woman and to know that woman and to like to align ourselves with the woman that's always been. And I know that because, and that's honestly put a note. I'm gonna come back and watch this because I haven't articulated it like this before. And I want to write a poem about the woman that's always been, but it's like, I really feel like I becoming my mother and doing things that she's always done. And then my mother's telling me about things that her mother's always done. And also my paternal grandmother, and being able to say like, she's also a woman in my, makeup. And I'm able to learn from her as well by way of what she gave my father and how her feminine energy has also been able to align with who we are. So I think we have to come back to a cultural understanding of who we are as women.
Yeah.
Not this, material, societal expectation. We have to really understand who we are to a cellular level, and then also in a spiritual level, understanding that if we never die and our ancestors still live within us, then we are the women who have already lived long enough to produce us. And those are the women we should be trying to be like, even if we don't have necessarily the best relationship or physical relationship with our parents, or we don't know our biological parents, just knowing that they were able to produce who I am makes me connected to them, period. And whatever I'm able to pull from that and find in the universe and call, the understandings for people to come. And I hope that whatever feminine healing that has to happen in your generational, baggage or whatever there's a lot of weight that comes with a feminine identity because we have been so second in line to so many different movements. So when we talk about healing the trauma that my mother may have occurred, that she may have passed down to me unconsciously, and then what her mother may have passed down to her unconsciously, and not just her mother, but the world around them, surrounding them, and also conditioning them. What have they been able to produce in me that I now have to heal from? But what have they produced in me that I've been able to stand on? What have they produced in me that is exactly why I am who I am today, regardless of, I never met my mother's mother, but I'm so much like her just from hearing stories about her. And it's like, we looking for women in the wrong places. We have, you know what I'm saying? We have the women that we need to be looking up to already. And I'll also say that I've been blessed to just have a dynamic. With that being said, like my bloodline, yes, but I also have just wonderful mentors and educators that have been able to like change my life, that I feel like we are able to fashion a pipeline of just that type of relationship in the community as a reflection of our bloodline responsibility. So we know that for me, I was raised in a community where community mothers, educators, community organizers, they were like the center of the village for me. When we talk about coming to do school programming, coming to do field trips, taking us places, doing things, the Black community in Sacramento really did that and produced that within me by way and virtue of my community mentors and mothers. So I naturally will become that woman and have become that woman because that is who we were born to be by virtue of who my mother was as a minister and my grandmother as a speakeasy organizer. You know what I'm saying? Like we do this, we move and we organize amongst people. This generational, this not new, this not something that we have to think about in terms of like, a burden or obligation. Is really a cultural thread that we keep in every generation, regardless of how we reproduce and decide to temperature, whatever's going on in the climate around us, we will organize our people to do and to move and to react. So I'm just listening more and more intuitively, especially my 25th birthday, like how am I going to make sure that however we're moving and organizing people and however I'm moving and being organized, that it makes sense for the next generation, that we're coming back to a plan of moving us forward, because at least the women in my life were able to produce me.
Yeah. Listen, you dropping mad knowledge right now because isn't it an amazing thing, right? You're raised in the Sacktown community, Black community in Sacktown. I'm raised in the Black community in North Philly, but we've both had the ability to travel and experience other Black communities, and regardless of where you go, the Black community is the Black community. Like there's an essential thread that runs through us. Even if the language is different, like even if there are different cultural traditions, you look around, it's like, oh, we do something like that. It's a little bit different, but it's a similar expression. It's born of the same cultural seed, and it's
absolutely
amazing to experience that when you move around the world.
Yes, and it's been a blessing to be able to find a home here in New Orleans where I feel like I could have been born into and raised my whole life.
Yeah.
And not to say that I do things the same way, it's very obvious when I move around a city that I'm not from out here, but the intention, the integrity, the urgency, and almost how fluid I can be in all of my different people, the personalities and hats that I have to wear just in one place.
Yeah.
Like Kari, the artist, the organizer, the educator, all being able to be nourished equally and thoroughly in one place, as I might way have been in Sacramento or in Ghana. Like it's like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like I appreciate being able to come and make waves and be a part of impact in the community. So I feel like where I'm going next, I don't know. Am I looking for my next spot? No. I feel very comfortable at home doing the work that I'm doing, being able to organize the local communities here and advance, the initiatives of the local community here in New Orleans, but also how that work is inextricable to the local community work, every city and state that our people exist, and how, that thread that we carry is connected to the fabric of men all over us, all over the world, because we have it within our hearts. And I'm so happy. I was just having a conversation with one of my childhood best friends. We both went to high school and together, went to college, and now in the community, really doing what we want to do. And it was like, well, we really are the community resource.
Yeah, true indeed.
Different when you needed things and you had to scavenge for help. But now when people are coming to you with their help and you can able to say, this is what I can provide to you as a service, it's such a blessing, such an honor, to be able to do that and able to lead in that way. So I just give the utmost thanks, and I give the utmost thanks to all my ancestors, every single one of my ancestors, and everybody that died so I could live, because that's ultimately what we're doing, is choosing life. That's what we do. We choosing life for our people on every level.
Yeah. I wanna bring something forth in the conversation. I was on a call yesterday with one of my brothers. I helped to organize and manage a manhood collective called Cobra Calisthenics.
Okay.
And one of the brothers, exactly. Cobra Calisthenics. It's a collective of men that's focused on rehabilitating Black manhood. So we work mentally, physically, spiritually, but most importantly, we try to work on uplifting the character of Black men. We look at ourselves as wounded warriors that are in need of healing based upon our experience and trauma. But the call I was on yesterday ended up turning into an impromptu therapy session that I didn't know that I needed, but I'm glad that I received it. But towards the end, he recommended a book, and I think it just came in the mail today as I ordered Amazon Prime, but it's called My Grandmother's Hands, Racialized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies. And I'm only bringing it forth because a lot of what you were talking about, like healing the woman within, you know what I mean? Like the trauma that's passed down in your genes and your DNA and your nervous system that you've inherited, and the deep level of grounded work that we need to do to heal ourselves so that we don't continue to reproduce that trauma. Apparently, this book does a good job at that. I will give a caveat. The book is one of those books that Oprah promoted. So there's 3 sections. One section he's writing to the police. One section he's writing to white people. But the section that's being written to Black people, I hear, is really good. So what I'll say,
the caveat.
That's the caveat. If it don't apply, let it fly. You know how you say, eat the meat and spit out the bone. But I'm getting it today, so I'm going to dig into it this weekend, and I'll let you all know, how what I've got out of it, and hopefully it'll manifest itself in my conversation and in discourse going forward. So I appreciate you being here. So in closing, just really quick, you are an artist, you are an organizer, and an educator. tell the people what you have coming up in the near future and where they can find you and tap in with you.
Absolutely. So actually today I just released a single. You can get that on all streaming platforms. The movie single just dropped today. Kari Jay, Karijay on all streaming platforms. The West to West Saturday School. We're making a reappearance in Sacramento, Ghana, and New Orleans. If you in Los Angeles, and if you are in any of those areas and would like to volunteer your service, volunteer your genius, volunteer your time, your mind to the Saturday School in Sacramento, Los Angeles, Accra, Ghana, or New Orleans, please be in touch with West to West. That's West #2 West Movement on Instagram. We'll have an educator call out, but I really want to promote that today because we need minds and hands in all of those cities coming forth for the babies on Saturdays. And what's coming next? What's coming next? We got more music coming out. We got the Saturday School coming out. Master collaborations. So we about to drop some very big partnerships with West to West Movement. That's all I'm about to say. Y'all should really tap in with West to West Movement and ask yourself, what do you want to see for Black people and then African people, and what are you really doing about creating what you want to see? Because we about to be about that in a real way.
I'm gonna toss one last question in because I was thinking about it during the interview and it almost slipped my mind. But when you were talking about, your organic chemistry being changed during your visit to Ghana, I thought about the singer Brown Sugar Baby, Ari Lennox, her visit to Ghana and her expressing what it meant to her on Twitter. And Twitter does what Twitter does and basically ruined, they bullied her off the platform for sharing how groundbreaking and I guess it drudged up a lot that she didn't know was there, what are your thoughts? Because, she kind of like got the so-called Hotep treatment, she got the, you on that Africa kind of like treatment. So like, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I think it highlighted the need and the urgency to work everywhere that we exist. I think folks assume that because people are born on the continent that they have a certain understanding of their consciousness and who they are and what their responsibility is to the people, and I think we have to be actively organizing, educating in everywhere that we are. I think the folks that ran her at the platform were very ignorant. I think people that haven't traveled and see people come and leave from their country every single day and have access to travel in a way that they've never been able to experience. It does create a bitterness, I believe, in some folks in the continent. And to have, such a real and material struggle be glamorized very selectively by the media also creates a bitterness for, locals in different countries. And I've seen it happen. I felt it as someone who's been welcome and someone who's been not welcome, different companies traveling, where this idea where you can come and go, it builds up a resentment within individuals so deeply that, we reject each other very, very, very violently. And I think Ari Lennox was a victim of that. I think because we haven't done the necessary work of connecting to each other intimately and spiritually and understanding each other's struggle. And this is why I also like to highlight the fact that West to West Movement goes back to Ghana, and we curate a very specific experience so that you're able to have real encounters with yourself, but also too with people on the ground, with your people on the ground, and able to see and feel what it's like to really live the material conditions of every level of life in society while you're in Ghana. But I said that to say we miss each other a lot. Going back to the need for the understanding and the real revolutionary love, we miss each other. I remember my first tour of the dungeons in Cape Coast. There was a grave of an enslaved woman who was described as a lover in the tour guide's vernacular, but he was very casual and he swept over so cool. I was made to be uncomfortable. I don't think he understood how uncomfortable he made me until I brought it to his attention that the way that he casually described rape, is in the narrative of his tour offended me. And he didn't mean to, and his heart didn't mean to offend me. But I think in that moment we had an opportunity to do the understanding of what happened when we was taken across that motherfucking water.
Yeah, no doubt.
How do we have to become different beings in our organic chemistry to be able to live and exist in those conditions?
Yeah.
Who are we now, and what are the necessary adjustments that should be made to your presentation when hosting folks that are coming on a very spiritual trip? And I had to have that kind of conversation, but it's something where we don't have a lot of opportunity to do. So we miss each other, and we don't make space for each other. And we don't have also the opportunity to see the beauty of our own circumstance, because we are coming from a circumstance.
Yeah, no doubt.
Circumstance. So when someone comes into our circumstance and try to show us the beauty in it, and you just can't get off the point of circumstance, you know, it's so offenses. It sets off a series of offenses, because you are now being told that what you already came into your mind as a circumstance is beautiful. And somebody from outside of your territory is coming and placing value on something you've already been convinced and been conditioned to think is not worthy of value. So it is a very intimate, I think, conflict that we have in the diaspora, just across everywhere, when we're not able to see each other. When we have different class understandings and misunderstandings of who we actually are as people, that we have very ugly displays of what took course with Ari Lennox and, you know, the people who tried to shun her out. I wish somebody would try to push me out or push any type of politic on anything concerning the continent in any way, any right. I think we all have, you know, an urgency to reclaim our birthright.
Absolutely.
And when ignorance is given to the wrong people on a platform such as Twitter, that birthright can be, you know, dismantled or dismayed from your hands. But I hope I could connect with Ari Lennox one day.
You will.
Just take her back and show her a even better side that she was able to see, and show her the people, the Ghanaians that love her and that will teach her and that will be able to, you know, build with her. Because it's
that's the thing. I think that the folks there, that she had a tremendous experience there is Twitter. Right.
But even there, having a forum, bringing an open forum to the conversation, because it's something that's to be said. There's still work to be done. It exposed the wound. It really exposed the wound in a relationship where we think it's cool to come and go. And we think we're doing this thing and we're doing justice by going and staying a couple of weeks and going back. But are we really exposing a deeper wound of like how we're missing each other in our diasporic activity? How are we trying to incite better relations when we come and go? And we have these very nomadic understandings and presentations of ourselves within the diaspora. Like, we could be everywhere, we are Africans everywhere, but how are we affecting the local communities that don't have access to that same movement? And what are we doing to like build a better relationship, you know, with those communities? So there's conversations to be had, most definitely.
I wish I had a stick of sage right now, because I would just burn it because I feel like you just purified the airwaves. You know, what you just gave your presentation. I really appreciate you. Listen, family, hold on one second. If y'all just here for the first time,
yo, check this out. Run my Uncle Omowale his likes.
Y'all make sure y'all smack the like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'm saying subscribe. Y'all go check her out. I'll put all her links down in the description box, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Peace, family.
All right.
Going off topic.
Off topic?
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic. How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?